Joining us, MS Now senior political national reporter Jacob Soboroff, an associate professor at Loyola Marymount University and co-author of How Bad Bunny Became the Global Voice of Puerto Rican Resistance, Vanessa Diaz. Vanessa, first to you, why was it so momentous? Why such a big deal to have Bad Bunny play the halftime show?
Well, I think regardless of the political moment, Bad Bunny has made a lot of firsts. He's been, the first artist in Spanish to win Album of the Year at the Grammys and a slew of other things. But this moment in particular, to have someone like Bad Bunny, who has broken all of these records in Spanish, is a loud, proud Latino Puerto Rican, stands up for what he believes in his music and all of the other components of his art. And so right now, we really need that voice. And I think it felt even bigger because of the political situation we're experiencing right now, where Latinos are being targeted.
What I think so interesting is that the controversy around this seems to presume among those who are outraged by it that Puerto Ricans aren't Americans. And Puerto Ricans don't deserve to be represented at the Super Bowl, as if they're some foreigners. And a former Trump press aide clapped back at that on social media. He only left the White House, by the way, a few months ago. This is Harrison Fields. He says, "Last time I checked, my Puerto Rican-born grandmother was a full American citizen, and she voted for Donald Trump." It's strange, given that she voted for Trump, and Puerto Ricans can be, like anybody, very conservative, why they'd want to diminish or dismiss that entire voting bloc.
Well, I think that just goes to show, first of all, that people don't understand the relationship between Puerto Rico and the U.S. But in fact, yes, it's a voting bloc of Puerto Ricans from the diaspora who are in the U.S. But I also think it's this reminder of the kind of exclusion of Puerto Ricans from the national consciousness. And part of that is that Puerto Ricans on the island do not have voting rights. And so I think that this kind of idea of them as foreign others, which extends to Latinos in the U.S. mainland as well. But I think for Puerto Rico in particular, because it's a territory, many Americans don't understand the relationship. It kind of adds this other layer to the ways in which Bad Bunny was positioned as a foreign other.
And Vanessa, the symbolism throughout the show, I mean, there were a number of symbols. The one that really jumped out to me just from my time covering Trump and covering Puerto Rico post that disastrous hurricane back during his first administration were the electric poles and the drama surrounding that. That must have been very intentional.
Oh, it's incredibly intentional. I mean, that entire song he was performing there is called El Apagón, which means the blackout. And so, it's really incredible that if you know the history, then it registered really quickly. But I think people were confused. Are those fireworks? Is that a power outage? What's happening? And that's part of what he was doing in that moment, was like, it was celebratory, but it was very political. And that was the longest blackout in the history of the U.S. It lasted almost a year. And so bringing that back up in this massive stage was really important and moving.
Honestly, at one point, I thought he might throw out a paper towel just to really hammer it home, a roll of paper towels. I thought for a moment, maybe. It would have been, but it would have sent Trump into a crazier tizzy than he already went into.
Are you wondering why I'm here?
There's a business angle, because there was a moment when I was watching when I thought, well, this would have been very at home at a baseball game, because baseball is filled with Latinos. It is a very multicultural sport. Not as many Latinos in football.
Wait,
but hold on, it's intentional. Stop.
This is the most streamed artist on planet Earth.
No, but also because NFL owners, conservative as they may be, want to reach out to a new audience as well.
Of course they do. I just want to say why I'm here.
Yeah, he's the most
I love Bad Bunny.
artist.
He's the most streamed artist on planet Earth. Titi Me Pregunto might be my favorite song, but many of them are fan favorites. And he did open with that.
You are many fan
favorites in the Soboroff family. I'm just going to admit it. Maybe I've just been having a hard time in life, but I cried.
Not like the people at the NFL were deciding, here's an obscure artist who's in the avant-garde. It's the NFL. The NFL is smart enough to look at the guy who is the most streamed artist in the world and say, we have the biggest stage. There's no stage anywhere in the world at any time of the year where any musician, any group, any artist can command 135 million pairs of eyeballs. And the NFL says, hey, you know what? For our biggest audience anywhere in the world, let's pick what's the safe pick? The safe pick is the guy who's the most streamed, most mainstream artist in the world. That's, in some ways, it's telling Donald Trump and MAGA to go pound sand. But in some ways, it's just giving the people what they want. The data is pretty clear. It's also the case that we got 60 million Spanish speakers in the United States. It's about 45 million where Spanish is first language, another 20 million or so where Spanish is a second language. This is not alternative programming. This is not bold, a kind of bold break with tradition. It's something new. It's the first Super Bowl halftime act who's ever performed entirely in Spanish. But all this speaks to is that the NFL understands that its capitalist impulses are firmly in line with the choice it made, and the MAGA right is the one is the force that is on the outside looking in. I will say, on top of everything else, whatever you think of the two last acts at the Super Bowl, whatever you think of Bad Bunny, whatever you think about Kendrick Lamar, they are two of the most exquisitely well-produced halftime shows I've ever seen. I don't know what I expected to see, but the combination of the music and the visuals and what Bad Bunny was singing a paean to here, which was to his heritage in a totally inclusive way. Every headline covering this thing was Bad Bunny's message of unity. And, for all these people who thought...
Before the story begins, a clear note to the audience. What you are about to hear is a fictional narrative inspired by pop culture, media power, and the chaos of the internet. It is not a claim about real events, real leaks, or real actions by any public figure. The night it happened, nobody was watching Bad Bunny. That was the strange part. The world was already loud with politics, scandals, and recycled outrage that refreshed every hour on social media. Donald Trump's name was trending again, not because of anything new, but because controversy had become background noise. People scrolled past it the way they scrolled past ads, waiting for something that actually felt shocking. Bad Bunny, meanwhile, was supposed to be quiet. No album rollout. No tour announcement. No cryptic posts. Silence, intentional and complete. Inside a dim studio in San Juan, the air smelled like coffee and old electronics. Cables lay coiled on the floor. A single monitor glowed against the dark walls. A small group sat around a table, unusually serious. No phones. No jokes. No music. This wasn't about creativity. It was about consequence. Bad Bunny leaned back in his chair, eyes fixed on a paused video frame. Hadn't they touched the mouse in minutes? Didn't they need to? Had already watched the clip too many times. Everyone in the room had. The video wasn't shocking because it was explicit. It was shocking because it was careless. A private moment, unguarded and crude, recorded years earlier and buried so deeply that most people believed it no longer existed. A moment that revealed how power behaves when it thinks no one is watching. If released, it wouldn't just embarrass a man. It would expose a system that protects itself by pretending memory is short. No one had stolen the footage. No hiking. No dramatic breach. It had arrived quietly, passed along through channels that only exist for people who know how to ask the right questions and when to stay silent. There were no demands attached. No threats. Just a short message. Do what you think is right. Bad Bunny finally spoke. If this goes out, he said calmly, there is no undo button. One person nodded. Another shifted in their seat. This isn't about attention, he continued. It's not about politics either. It's about truth, and how easily truth disappears when it makes powerful people uncomfortable. Someone asked the question everyone had been avoiding. Why you? He didn't answer right away. He stood up, walked closer to the screen, and played the video for a few seconds. Then he paused it again. Because they don't expect it from me, he said. They expect noise. Not reflection. The plan was simple by design. No announcement. No commentary. No accusations. Just a clean release, unbranded and unexplained, dropped into the bloodstream of the internet where control vanishes instantly. At exactly 2:17 de la mañana Eastern Time, a new account appeared on a nearly forgotten video platform. No profile photo. No bio. One upload. The title was a single word, remember. Within 10 minutes, it had a few dozen views. Waiting half an hour, someone downloaded it. An hour later, copies were spreading across forums, private chats, and mirrored links. By sunrise, it was everywhere. The internet didn't explode right away. First came confusion. Was it real? Was it old? Was it AI? Accusations of deepfakes flooded comment sections before mainstream platforms even acknowledged the clip. Analistas slowed it down frame by frame. Audio specialists compared voices. Amateur investigators argued late into the night, then came the denials. Anonymous sources dismissed it as fake. Lawyers hinted at lawsuits without naming defendants. Allies waved it away as manipulation. But something felt different this time. The usual damage control script wasn't working. No one knew who to attack. Major networks referenced the video without showing it, choosing their words carefully. Platforms tried to suppress it, then reversed course as copies multiplied faster than takedowns. Each attempt to contain the clip only made it more visible, and through it all, Bad Bunny said nothing. That silence was deafening. Fans noticed patterns first. Old lyrics resurfaced, lines about hypocrisy, power, and lies dressed up as confidence. Interviews from years earlier circulated, moments where he spoke about responsibility and refusing to be used. Clips spread of him dodging political theater while still refusing to look away. The connection didn't need confirmation. The idea alone was enough to change the conversation. By the second day, people stopped arguing about whether the video was real. The question became why it had been hidden, who had protected it, and how many similar moments had been erased before. That was when everything started to shift. By midday on the second day, the story had escaped the internet and entered real rooms. Emergency meetings were called in offices that normally moved slowly. Advisors spoke in lowered voices. Phones buzzed non-stop with messages that said very little but implied everything. No one wanted to be the first to say the wrong thing, and no one wanted to be the last to react. Donald Trump appeared briefly on television that afternoon. It was visibly irritated, his tone sharp, dismissive. He called the video disgusting fiction, an obvious setup, a cheap trick by people who hated him. He never named Bad Bunny. Didn't they need to? Every anchor, every commentator, every scrolling headline did it for him. Late night shows joked carefully, skating along legal edges. Political panels argued less about the content of the video and more about the implications. Was releasing something like this ethical? Did the public deserve to see it? Did context matter if the moment was real? The most uncomfortable question, though, kept returning. If this had been released years ago, what would have changed? Behind closed doors, pressure started closing in on Bad Bunny from all directions. Executives warned him about contracts. Lawyers outlined worst-case scenarios. PR teams begged him to distance himself, to deny involvement, to protect the brand before the brand protected him. He listened without interrupting. When everyone finished talking,